Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool to find the right size for your digging project. Visit powerplanter.com. Now here are your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. You've got a question, we've got an answer. You can get a hold of us a couple of ways. Send your question via email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, even just saying, letting us know where you're listening to the show from. And if you'd like to get a hold of us, you can do that toll-free nationwide, 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-SHOW. Had a number of questions come in this week. We'll see what we can get through to the now to the top of the hour. First question here, Holly. Why are my zucchini flowers not opening?
Well, this can be a sign of stress. Sometimes it happens when you have the squash vine borer. And so what the squash vine borer is it finds the base of your squash plant, typically early June. And then what it does is it lays their larva into the burrows in the stem of the plant. Lays that larva. The larva eats the middle section of your plant. All of a sudden, sometimes you have like these nice looking zucchinis, and then the next day they're just dead.
It's flat on the ground. So you want to be vigilant on that. But what the flower situation here is can be common. The plant may not be old enough.
Right. So, yeah, it might not be mature enough yet. So that's something to keep in mind. They are huge plants. They take up space. So make sure you are spacing them apart properly.
And sometimes, based on your climatary conditions, the flowers open and close before you actually know that they've done it. So that can also be a situation there. Next question here. What do you do with the soil after you harvest your crops from the grow bags?
So, what we do is we take the half of the whatever's in there, and we can throw it in our compost pile,
top off the beds,
whatever, fill whatever, and then we replenish it in the spring with new stuff.
Now, that's part of the answer, and that's the right answer. However, it's based on the size of the container in which you're growing in as well. If we're with the 60-gallon grow bags we've got from rootmaker.com, we just top them off. We continue to top them off. The soil, depletes, and we top them off. If you're in a 1, 3, 5, 10-gallon, 15-gallon grow bag, it's probably best to just remove all that soil and start over. Again, if you're wanting a grow bag or a raised bed, rootmaker.com is the place to go. You can find that information, and you can purchase anything and use a coupon code TWVG at checkout.
Okay. So another question is can I freeze seeds to make them last longer, to keep them longer?
Great question, and yes, you can. I'll explain. Many people will keep them in the crisper of their fridge in a mason jar with a lid on it to keep them cool and dry. But freezing seeds does not harm them. It can actually greatly extend the lifespan of those seeds if done properly. Now, all seed banks throughout the world freeze their seeds intending for the longevity of the storage. Now, humidity is the greatest concern when it comes to your seeds. If there's too much humidity, it can damage them with the freezing. And a blast of warm, humid air also can damage them. But frozen seeds can be damaged with that. But freezing them, just wrap them up in a envelope and something they can breathe in. Now, I wouldn't recommend putting them in like a plastic bag or something, but freezing them works very well.
Okay. And so here's another question is I just bought a house. I'm working with my gardens, adjusting certain plants. There is an amazing mess of asparagus. However, it's
good problem to have.
Right? It's insanely overgrown and in a location that needs to be moved. I understand a pitchfork is needed, or a garden fork, but does it need to wait till fall to move it? And where can I move it to? Can I move it to a partially shaded area?
Well, asparagus can grow in partial shade. Best if you can grow it in full sun, but obviously you've got a great problem that you're dealing with to have an abundance of already mature asparagus. Now, you would want to wait until fall. The fronds are growing right now and building the root system on your asparagus. you would want to remove, at the end of the season, you can cut those fronds back, compost them, and then you can dig up your asparagus and then transplant it so it can get in the ground and kind of establish slightly before spring. You might see a decrease in the amount of production they do next year, but after that, they should be just fine. All right, we got time for a few more here.
Last year, I had pears that had brown scab-like areas on them. What might that be, and what do I fix it with?
Well, there's a couple of things. That is called pear scab or apple scab, and
it's caused by spores, unfortunately, airborne spores, and then it creates these velvety spots, lesions.
Well, velvety spots is a glamorous term. It creates a terrible scab on the. Yeah.
Well, we need to paint a pretty picture here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and it can encourage cracking of the skin as well. So what you can do is you can, so this lives in diseased plant material. So in the fall, you want to make sure that you're not letting diseased plant material just chill next to your tree.
I wouldn't put it in the compost pile. I know some people say, yeah, throw it in the compost pile. But unless your compost pile gets warm enough, and here's the other problem. If it gets too warm and stays too warm over the winter, it can harbor and keep those spores alive.
Right. So that's what you want to do. Is the biggest thing is just remove that diseased foliage that has fallen. So whether it be the leaves, other fruit, what have you, move it away from the tree, put it in the trash, put it out to the curb for the trash man to get. Whatever I would put it in bags so that a chance of the spores doesn't occur anymore.
And the other thing in which you can do is there is an organic means of controls to do this, and there's also chemical means of control to do this. So it would depend on where your particular situation is, and controlling the pear scab with a fungicide spray. You need to apply it 2 to 5 times during the season, depending on where the tree is growing. The more important portion of this spray is done when the flowering is in the pink stage, or becomes pink right before the fruit begins to develop, usually about 10 to 14 days by succession spraying the tree here. So there's a lime sulfur spray you can apply. There's a chemical spray you can apply. Typically, you want to do this around February or March, and that can help prevent the spore activity. However, that's not a guarantee cure for that problem. Just because you've done it doesn't mean it will fix itself. Now, if you got the pears and it's already, you didn't spray, or you did spray and you still have the problem, you can eat the pears. You just want to peel them. If they are very badly infected and cracked and become misshapen, because of that scabbing, you just throw them away. Don't even compost them. I wouldn't compost them, because then you can keep the whole thing alive and the whole evil cycle going again.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.